U.S. House passes a bill to ban trans women from competing in women's school sports. Now, on one side, and this is just how I see it genuinely, and that is that I think it is unfair for a biological man to compete with a woman in most sports. I think there might be some exceptions where it literally doesn't matter. But the majority of sports, let's just say boxing, for example. I kind of don't agree with, someone who's born biological man, boxing a woman. It's not fair. There's differences and they matter. It really does, especially in a combat sport like that. Now, with that said, how many trans kids do we have in sports in the country? How many people does this actually apply to? Sports is a tricky subject when it comes to the trans situation, right? How do we fit people in there and be accommodating, but also fair? And that is one where there is no real answer other than no. That's kind of where I stand. But there's got to be lines drawn. Competing in sports is where things get a little confusing and we got to just say no. We tried saying yes, and there's men dominating in a lot of different sports, becoming champions. It's really happening. It's not fair. It's not fair. Uni, you're editing this. You're here. What do you think?
Ooh, what a sensitive topic. Men and women both develop differently from their muscle and bone structure. We're biologically built differently. Mm-hmm. When men dip their toes into women's sports typically become dominated by them. Children are so impressionable by creativity and make-believe. And I'm not calling this make-believe, but I'm just saying that as an example. Imagination can run wild. The closer we start getting to younger and younger youth, I feel like the more dangerous these conversations can become because we start dipping our toes into irreversible changes. So we talk about men stepping into women's sports. It's not fair. It is not the same. We're not making the same measurement. We're not measuring the same metrics. And I feel like it's crazy how further away we're getting from, I'm going to use the word common sense. Do we have a man fist fight a woman?
Absolutely not.
The same way a lot of sports become much more male dominant, especially in female sports when we're allowing transition males to females step into that pool.
I can remember back first grade. I can remember being 2 years old even. When I was in first grade, I wanted to be a vampire with robot arms. And there was this other kid and I was trying to make him a vampire with robot arms during recess.
You transitioned him?
Yeah, I was trying to transition him. Touching back on what you're saying about kids are impressionable and there's make-believe, right? When I was a kid, that's what I thought I wanted. And I'm really glad I'm not a vampire with robot arms. Actually, that sounds kind of sick.
And I feel like it is such a dangerous territory to be putting, I'm going to say, outrageous ideologies at such a young age.
Before I play AOC, I don't know what she's going to say at all. I'll say she's not my favorite politician, but I respect her. She's very good at playing the politician game. And that's all it is. It's a big game that everyone's playing. It's like American Game of Thrones, basically.
Republicans who have voted consistently against the Violence Against Women Act have taken away the right of all women to choose and have control over their own body.
I am on the side of women's right to choose, personally. That's where I stand. Let people choose what they want. And there's different cultures in America that have different beliefs on abortion and not abortion. I don't take offense to anyone that's against abortion. It doesn't hurt my feelings because that's their worldview. That's their feelings. That's how they see it. There's no right answer here, in my opinion. So let people choose for themselves. I'm pretty much in support of that. And I respect what the communities choose for themselves, even if I disagree with it personally.
Pretend today that they care about women. And why? To open up gender and yes, genital examinations into little girls in this country in the so-called name of attacking trans girls. Today, what we have to say are two words: not today. The majority right now says there's no place in this bill that says it opens up for genital examinations. Well, here's the thing. There's no enforcement mechanism in this bill. And when there is no enforcement mechanism, you open the door to every enforcement mechanism.
I understand that she's trying to look out for people, and I get that, and I understand. We should try and look out for people. But the issue is not about people respecting women or not respecting women or anything like that. It is about competition and fairness. Righties and lefties are both weaponizing dismissing the issue and adding a bunch of bullshit on top of it. So it's not just her side that is doing it and where she's lumping in other things with the issue. It's both sides that do that. And that's why it's so hard to talk about these things sometimes, is because it gets lumped in with other issues together. And, you know, if you have a problem with one issue, then by default, you have a problem with both issues and vice versa. So that's the issue that people are having when it comes to discussing these things. And that's why it's so difficult. But if we could just focus on one thing at a time without lumping them together, that would be better. I don't have issues with trans people.
Nope, none.
Yeah, no issues. The data is there.
The data is damning.
Assaulters love this bill, but also CEOs love this bill because Los Angeles is on fire right now. And this is the number one priority the majority has. Thank you, and I yield back.
So this is where she sucks at being a politician, in my opinion, because all these people that aren't those terrible labels that she said, and yes, those people do support that bill. Of course they do. Duh. But what's not duh is lumping people that are not like that in with those people to weaponize. And all it does is cause more divide, because what you need to do is get the other side to want to cooperate with you. If they get an inch, they try and take a mile. The right has got an inch here with the banning trans women from competing in women's school sports. I agree with it, but they're going to take a mile. They're going to try and do more. They might try and do more things than I do agree with. We need to let trans people exist, but we need to stop this whole, like, as if they're once slaves and looked down upon in society as if, like, they can't even drink at the same water fountain and shit. It is not that extreme.